In any business, in small to medium business or micro businesses, the core values is the business owner. It is
Good.
the business owner's perspective of what has to be done that core values reflect and radiate throughout the company.
Hi, welcome to the Tarun Stevenson Leadership Channel. I'm your host, Tarun Stevenson, and we are all about helping you lead, communicate, and grow to your full potential. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or your favorite podcasting app, don't forget to subscribe and follow so that you can stay up to date with all our latest episodes. All right, here's the latest episode. Let's get into it. Here with Raymond Huan from Accelerated Business Solutions. Welcome, Raymond.
Thank you for having me here, Tarun.
It's great to have you here. I've known you for a couple of years, and you've actually, whether you realize it or not, you've actually helped my business quite significantly just through the friendship that we've had and some of the ideas that you've given me over the last couple of years. So I thought, it'd be great to get you on the show so that you could share some of the wisdom that you have around growing businesses, because that's really your specialty, isn't it? Growing businesses, whether they're struggling or just starting out. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and where you've come from and how you've come to the place that you are now?
Well, I've always learned that I like teaching people in general, and I like sharing the knowledge that I have. I tried teaching in the past just for a short while, and I've learned that sometimes students, when they're given information for free, are not really, they don't really take the information to do anything with it. And that's where I realized that when people pay for information, they really take that on and they really benefit from it. In the past, I went into engineering. All right. I'm a graduate of engineering, and I furthered to a master's in business, and I went into the construction management industry, then the IT industry, then the consulting industry. So this is where I'm at when I migrated over to Australia from Singapore some 15 odd years ago. I went into the consulting sphere, and from there I started my own business. And that's when I realized that the information that I had as I grew and learned through the years, people could benefit from that. And the best way to do it is to share it with them when they are wanting and willing to hear. So you are right to say that our friendship, that I may have helped the business, but I want to say that you have helped mine as well by actually just sharing with each other over coffee. That was the catalyst of actually spurring both of us to different directions. If you recall, the conversation with you was the point where I started off my video blog. That was years ago.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And with that conversation, I realized that I needed someone to be accountable to as well. All right, I am human. Likewise, all my clients need people to be accountable. That's where I'm there. So with you, I was accountable with you and to you to some extent to spearhead the video production to my video blog. And after about 2.5 to 3 years, I've had a steady stream of video blogs, and the comments I've been receiving in that is it's been very useful. It talks about businesses, how to work through the difficulties that you have in a business, especially in this coronavirus pandemic. And it deals with a lot of the current issues that business owners face at this time.
Yeah, and look, I want to commend you on that, because I was looking through your YouTube channel just before we jumped on this call, and you have been really consistent in putting out content for the last 2 years. On a weekly basis, you're really consistent. You're always there, always adding value to your community. And that's a hard thing to do. I mean, especially when you've got, your business that you're running outside of YouTube, and you've got a family as well. To be consistent, I find it difficult just getting podcasts out there and blogs out there every week. And so I want to commend you on that. But how have you found that shift? Like, you've moved into the social media space and putting your content on social media. Have you found that has enhanced what you do? How have you seen it add value to what you do as a business consultant?
Well, one thing I did not realize was that I have a very quiet following of business owners, people who do find my videos informative. And I have gotten feedback that there is value. People have benefited from it.
Right.
So one thing is the drive for me to want to reach out
Yeah.
to people and say, hey, you may not want to use my services, and that's okay.
Mm,
But I do want you to know that there is information out there that you can benefit from.
great.
And there's so much information out there in the World Wide Web that
Mm,
I decided to condense down to simple bite-sized videos
yeah.
where it caters to a specific niche market, which is
Yeah.
business owners. And so that if they review my video, they'll say, I knew that, but I never knew it in that way.
Yeah.
Or I didn't know it in that way. Thank you for sharing it with me. And that's the feedback I'm getting.
Great.
Consistency is the key. Tarun, you are very right. I
Yeah.
struggle with that. The initial 6 months was a challenging time. If you can see my face, it was
Yeah.
very challenging.
Yeah.
But I guess what pushed me ahead was the why.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? I'm not doing this just for myself. I'm doing this because I wanted to reach out to put
Great.
information into the hands of a certain niche market to
Yeah.
benefit them. And the clear benefits I get back is people, when they reach out to me or when they keep in touch with me, they know who I am.
Yeah.
They don't think I'm some stranger, which is nice if they know who you are. And
Absolutely.
one or two of them have actually become my clients.
Great.
So that has helped in the whole credibility sphere, which is
Yeah.
very lacking in this world now these days.
Okay, so you touched on something there that I think really translates into all aspects of business and really life in general. And you were talking about how sometimes consistency requires you to keep going, even when you're not getting a lot of feedback. And the reason that you kept going was because you knew your why. You knew the purpose behind your videos. Would you say that that's an important aspect of business as a whole? And how does a business owner or a leader really tap into that for themselves? Because there's a whole bunch of stuff that we do as business owners and leaders that you don't
Mm.
get immediate results. I mean, we were talking about pre-marketing just before we jumped on this call, and how there's a
Yes.
whole bunch of stuff we do and you don't get feedback. There are no sales, there's no people patting you on the back, nobody saying I love what you're doing. You're just
Hmm.
grinding away day after day doing the stuff that you know long term will pay dividends. How do you
Yep.
keep in that zone of working when there's very little tangible feedback to what you're doing?
Well, it gets progressively more difficult if you're grinding away over a prolonged period of time.
Yeah,
If it's a short period of time, it's okay. Mine was
sure.
like 6 months. That
Yeah,
I consider to be reasonable in some sense. Some people grind over for 1 to 2 years and get no results,
yeah,
and that can be very, very demoralizing. So it depends firstly on how long you're grinding. If
right.
it's a 2 month thing, I think humanely speaking, that's not a problem. Your
Yeah,
why will be there. You will continue doing it. If it
sure.
stretches for a long time, then the challenge will come in.
Okay,
Um, your why sitting close to your heart is very important. I
okay.
mean, most of us start our own businesses. Most of us start something because we want a better life. We
Yeah,
want the business to do something good for us.
yeah,
And the why is, of course, more money, more time, more whatever it is you want. But many of us do not take into account that sometimes family and sometimes lifestyle play a factor into it.
yeah,
As your business grows and becomes busy, your family and your lifestyle gets impacted,
right.
and that conflicts against your why sometimes. So many business owners in general, when they start off and the business starts off and grows, they enjoy the fruits of their labor, but
Yeah,
at the expense of sometimes time with the family, which was
mm,
one of the original whys they started up the business in the first place.
yeah,
And so to keep your why central, you either have to learn to do it yourself, which
yes,
it can be very, very challenging because we're all people, or many times it brings someone else in to become accountable to.
yeah,
That's the key thing. And for me is I am accountable to my wife
good,
Sharon, who keeps me straight and narrow all the
good.
time, because she makes it known to say that I am working very, very hard, and sometimes I do ignore the kids. I'm not involved, and that's a very key central reason as to my whys as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, for anybody listening out there, find someone whom you can be accountable to and whom you are comfortable
yeah.
being accountable to, and that would help.
Okay, so talk more about this accountability because you've mentioned it a couple of times already. You've mentioned that you found that having me have coffee with you kept you accountable while you were starting your YouTube channel.
Yes.
You, as a business coach and as a consultant, essentially you are the accountability partner for the business owners that hire you. and you of
Mhm.
course got your wife and other people in your life keeping you accountable. What does good accountability look like, and what should we be looking for when we're looking for someone who can keep us accountable?
Well, firstly, I mentioned it earlier. You need to be comfortable in talking and speaking with someone whom you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, you must be able to trust that person. You must be comfortable talking with that person and sharing the intimate details of the business.
Yeah.
That means your profit and loss, that you're losing money, they are making money, your dreams, your aspirations. You must be comfortable enough to talk to someone whom you are comfortable with. That's one thing.
Sure.
Secondly, the other person needs to know things about business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no point talking to someone who is not totally in that business sphere. You're talking to
Okay.
your employee, for example,
Yeah.
whose career depends on your mood sometimes, that person will not make a good accountability partner. Some
Mm-hmm.
people struggle talking to their spouses or their significant others in their lives
Mm.
because this involves the good times and the bad times of the business. This involves the money. And as a result, emotions can come into play. So
Yeah.
some people realize that their partners are not good people to be accountable to. And that's where they go to a consultant or a coach to be able to reflect and bounce ideas off, to be able to share their business, the intimate details of the business, so that they
Yeah.
can get a different perspective on that. Yeah. If you are willing to, if you understand that you function better as a business owner
Mm.
by being accountable to someone, that is the best thing that you can do. Find someone whom you can be accountable with, because
Great.
if that makes you better, if that makes you better by 10% after
Mm.
6 months, just 10%, your business will grow by a lot more because you have the leverage of a business at your back.
Great.
So
Okay.
do not underestimate the level of your efficiency. Um, be the best that you can be. That's what I
Mm.
say.
Would you say that honesty comes into the way in which we're accountable? You did a YouTube video on honesty in business, being honest with your clients, being honest with your employees, and I wonder if sometimes as business owners we're reluctant to be accountable because when you're honest with someone, you make yourself vulnerable to their criticism, and that can be a hard thing, especially if the business is your baby. You've invested
Hmm.
your energy, your emotions, your time into something that you
Hmm.
don't feel like being criticized for it because that feels like a personal affront to you. How do you work through that aspect? Because you can't have good accountability without honesty, but sometimes honesty with an accountability partner can be very confronting. What would you recommend leaders and business owners do to overcome perhaps that barrier to being accountable?
Um, be humble. That is the fundamental thing that you need to be within yourself. Now, it doesn't
Yeah,
mean that you have to be apologetic. It doesn't mean
yeah,
that you have to be um, always yielding the floor to anybody.
yeah.
But you need to know when the other party has a point, and
Okay.
it's a legitimate point. And if you're
Yeah,
able to see that, you must be willing to accept that and even thank the person for that and move on. One
right.
advantage I've had is where he has stretched me in this area is to learn to apologize to my children. Being a
Okay.
parent, you always know a lot more than your kids
Yeah.
in life, and you bring that across. Now, when they're teenagers, as teenagers they can be very sassy towards you at times. But at times, yeah, you understand the term.
I do.
My challenge would be, and I'm working on this, is that in their sassiness, there is
Yeah,
truth in what they say.
yeah,
And I need to pick on that truth to say, look, I do not like your delivery. I would tell them the way you
yeah.
delivered the information.
Great.
But what you said is true. And for that, I acknowledge that and I apologize
Yeah,
because it's true. I've
yeah,
not been there. It's true. Now, if that has sharpened me, and to anybody wanting to know how you can be accountable to someone in a proper manner, or the ideal to answer that question is
yeah.
you need to be humble enough to know that you can be better.
Okay.
You also need to acknowledge that you cannot be the best that you can be by yourself, no
Good.
matter how eager you are in searching out for that information.
Yeah,
A person looking out from within is able to see you a lot clearer than you just looking in the mirror. Now,
yeah.
these are fundamental truths that nobody will argue against. And if you surround yourself with people whom you are comfortable with, who are also tactful in
Yeah.
telling you, rather than saying it right in your face and rubbing salt in the wound, but
Yeah.
who have the wisdom and the capacity to not only tactfully highlight this to you for your benefit with
Yeah.
no ulterior motive, as well as the business experience to say there are options where you can mitigate such risks or such issues.
Mm.
That is the ideal team or person that you should go to, because not only can they tell you what's wrong with you, they won't hurt you unnecessarily. They
Yeah.
have your best intentions at heart, and they can probably propose a few solutions for you to help you overcome that. And the best of all is that they walk the journey with you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. And you know, it's a common recurring theme with the guests that I have on this podcast. Almost every week, I have somebody talk about humility and using tactfulness or emotional intelligence to be able to get across what you want to say in a way that doesn't damage people unnecessarily. And so I think you're reinforcing a theme here that's really valuable, and we need to sort of continue reminding leaders and reminding business owners that you know, success starts with us, our ability to see ourselves for who we truly are, and
Mm.
then be humble enough to ask for help when we need to grow and need to develop in those areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
fantastic. So you've written a book, Raymond. It's called 20K to 2 million. And in that book, you talk about how you have helped a number of businesses to grow their bottom line and to scale their businesses. Now, I don't want to give the whole book away, but can you give us a little bit of a synopsis, if you like, of what are some of the ideas or suggestions you would give to business owners now who are really in many ways facing the prospect of having to rebuild after coronavirus? Many businesses are either in a slump or have died to nothing. I know my business is like that too. What are
Mhm.
some of the advice that you would give business owners who are looking to rebuild? Maybe they're church leaders, maybe they're just leaders of organizations and they're having to rebuild. It doesn't just have to be business owners, but how do we face the rebuilding phase well?
Well, one thing I tend to try to look on the bright side of things as much as I can, because
Yeah,
that's what motivates me ahead.
sure.
And in this crisis, and even when I'm working with some of my clients right now who are really struggling through this COVID
Yeah,
crisis, so I see that, and I have to keep them on the ball on what's going on.
yeah,
Because of external extenuating circumstances, you can't do much at this time, and you're starting to rebuild.
yeah.
That is an opportunity for you to focus on the fundamental question, and which I mentioned in my book as well.
Yeah.
What is the difference that makes a good and a great business? Everybody wants to have a good business.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have a great business, but there is a fundamental difference between good and great, and that's what my book talks elaborates upon and asks
Mm.
you to certain questions for you to think about that. For a good business is, for example, a business that focuses and that builds a good product and people come to it and they service their customers well.
Yeah.
That's a good business.
Okay.
But a great business has something like that, the same product, but looks at how the customers benefit that product from that same product and looks at how they can enhance that.
Okay.
That is the difference, because you could have company A, company B
Mm.
having the exact same product, but company B, who is a great business philosophical thinking, would
Mm.
take different actions at that same time in order to spearhead ahead. And the difference will be apparent in 1 to 2 years' time, when
Okay.
the good philosophy thinking versus the great philosophy thinking. That is the
Okay.
difference.
Okay, so unpack that a little bit more for me. I understand what you're saying. A difference between a good and a great business is really a business that takes the focus of what am I doing to serve my customer, or how does what I do benefit my customer. And I
Mhm.
suppose at some level, most businesses would have asked that question, but how do you do that in a way that will actually translate into tangible steps for a business to grow? Um, can you give us a case study or perhaps a business that you've worked with where you've implemented this strategy, and what does it look like in real terms?
Well, one of them, I tend to put in major organizations in my book, so everybody can identify, no
Yeah.
matter where you're reading. And one of them is
Right.
Gillette, for example. Now, Gillette, everybody knows Gillette, and there
Yeah.
are a lot of competitors out there to Gillette. But one of the reasons why Gillette is so good at what they do, it's
Yeah.
because they know what great product is all about.
Yeah.
They look, their product is shaving, all right, basically.
Yeah.
And they understand that it's just not a clean shave or a certain time of trim that people want. It is the effects of that out in the social area. If you
Sure.
go out with a poorly shaved face, you wouldn't have the kind of results that you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So what Gillette does is they make the thing affordable to you. They
Right.
sell you the initial cartridge very, very cheaply, very
Yeah.
affordable, and then money is in the blades.
The
Okay.
resale. Yeah.
So they know it's ongoing. They firstly
Mm.
sell you a solution, and they make residual income consistently because you need to shave.
Yeah.
And not only that, because they have this great product thinking, they look at the whole solution
Yeah.
of how do we get a man or woman who needs to
Mm.
shave in any part of their body the best
Yeah.
kind of shave possible to give them that social boost out in the world.
Yeah.
Then they come up with shaving creams. They
Yeah.
come up with aftershave lotions. They come up with a whole package that gives you that full experience because they
Yeah.
want you to benefit from that. So you see how starting up from the very basic product
Mm.
of shaving
Mm.
blades, they expand their product line to before and after, before you shave, during the shave, after you shave, and then from there, they just expand more and more to give you that overall one major benefit of
Yeah.
assurance, of ease of use, and of you going out there and benefiting. That
Yeah.
is great product thinking.
Would you say that, I mean, Gillette's, I guess, a good example of this, that it probably goes one step further in that they're not so much targeting the act of shaving, but they're targeting identity of men. You know, the slogan Gillette, the best a man can get is, you know, and like you say, it's all around the image. You know, when you use Gillette products, you get the girl, you get the deal, you look like the coolest guy. And so a lot of that, what they do with their advertising seems to target the subliminal message of self-worth and individuality. You know, Coke sells happiness; it doesn't sell sugar water. And you know,
Yeah, that's right.
all of their commercials are designed around enjoying your life to the maximum. And is that what you're talking about in terms of understanding what your product does for a person, or at least framing it in that way? Or have I missed
That
one?
is to your customers. Yes, you need to understand your product, and frame it in a way that the benefits is to your customers,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the marketing side of things. And I think every business owner more or less knows that they have to do it.
Yeah.
But what fundamentally differentiates a great business from a good business is that
Yeah.
they understand that their product is just more than just the marketing. Their
Right.
product does a lot more, and that allows you to develop your product and expand it.
Yeah.
And that is when you expand it, it not only reinforces the initial marketing message that you feel good, you look good, but it also expands your market as a result. So that benefits your business. So that's why in my book I say that if you focus on the difference between good and great,
Yeah.
the first few steps are the same. Between a good business and a great business, the first few steps are always the same. Both of you will get good profits. Both of you will focus on marketing. They will do the same things. But the great business has a different mindset and will go into a divergent pathway that will bring in more stellar results as opposed to the good business.
So it's
That's
really,
the
it's
difference.
like the diversifying of your product line and just creating a suite of products as opposed to having just one thing that you sell or one thing that you market. Is that where you're going with that?
That is the symptoms. That is
Mm,
the results.
mm,
Diversifying product line, but it stems from the mindset that if you focus on being a great business,
mm.
these things you would inherently think on how to diversify your
Yeah,
product line. You would inherently think of creating a culture of your business that people will want to go to and work
yeah,
in. You will attract the best people to assist you or people of like mind, which is
yeah.
what you would benefit from just from the mindset of having a great business.
Yeah, okay, I
That is.
got you. So you're always looking for, the primary focus is not so much looking at how many units you can sell or how you're going to market them. It's asking yourself the question, what's one thing that I can do to make myself better as a business,
Yes.
and what's one
Yes.
way that I can improve the experience for the customer? So it's starting with that attitude of constant improvement.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. because we are talking to people who aspire to be leaders or who are leaders in their own right in the church, in religion, in the corporate world, or
Yeah.
even in the teaching or in the leaders in your own right. If you shift your fundamental viewpoint from
Yeah.
being good to great, things
Yeah.
will flow along that line, and you will
Great.
see the difference. Yeah.
Great. I've always had an attitude with my leadership and with my own business, and when I talk to my team, is I always try to shoot for constant growth rather than perfection or necessarily gigantic wins. So
Mhm.
what I say to my team is, I don't need you to be, you know, the best. I need you to be the best you can be, and if there's one area you can grow in, then that's what we want to focus on. And so,
Yep.
at the end of every quarter, I'm looking at, did we increase in some way? I don't care if we've hit our biggest target. I'll always set stretch targets, and I'll always set big goals. But that's not so much how I measure my success. I try to measure it from, have I grown in the areas that I needed to grow? Is that an approach that I guess you're trying to describe here? Is always looking for those 1% improvements that you can do over time, and over time those things add up to bigger and bigger leverage in your business.
That is also one of the results of having a great
Yeah.
mindset and a good mindset as well. Yes. So while you say it's true in every aspect, you will want to improve yourself in every way. But if I were to look at, let's say, Gillette, bringing back, because everybody knows
Yeah.
that case example, when they looked at it and when they looked at that product of shavers, they expanded to electronic shavers, electric
Yeah.
shavers. They expanded to creams and aftershave lotions.
Yeah.
That there are many ways you can improve yourself.
Yeah.
All right. But if you have the correct mindset,
Yeah.
you will look at the 30 ways that you can improve, and you would focus on the 3 that would hit
Yeah.
certain criteria of being a great business.
Yeah.
That is the difference.
This
So
is really the constant growth curve, the S curve of like trying to start new areas for growth in that sort of 20% range, as opposed to pouring all of your energy into the 80% that gets you less
that's
revenue.
right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
identify the 20% that really matters, because you know your why, you know you have a great mind, you have a great business mindset, and that's where you would choose to say, okay, instead of doing this, instead of getting doing other things, we will focus on this because of, and we know the benefits why.
Yeah.
So yes, it involves improvement. But if you look at Gillette's case, it's improving of a product for a particular reason. It
Yeah.
is to enhance the experience of the customer
Yeah.
instead of enhancing the back end,
Yeah.
or they do that, and that's where the traction starts to go. So yes, you are right, but I think with the right mindset, you get directed improvements that produce better results.
Great. Great. I love
And
it.
the thing,
There's
it all starts with your mindset, yeah, basically.
So I think a story that illustrates that beautifully is, I love the story about Corningware, the glass cookware company. I think it was back in the 70s. They were at the height of their production with glass cookware, and their CEO came to the executive and said, "What's one thing that we could make using the machinery and the tools that we have to take us into the next decade?" And it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
because their business was declining. They weren't actually struggling. They were actually at the peak of their production and success. But he was looking for a new way to open up a new market. And one idea that came back was making fiber optic cable. And interestingly, Corningware is the largest producer of fiber optic cable in the world. They still make glass cookware, but they just opened up a new product line because they were looking to become more valuable to the customer, but looking at that sort of 1-2%, what can we do with the equipment that we already have, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. And I just love that example of, always be looking for ways that you can open up new markets, open up new opportunities for yourself, based out of what you already do. Like you're saying with Gillette, they've got the shaver, but then they've got the electric shaver, and then they've got the shaving cream, and it's look for the open markets with what the product line you already have, and just improve on that.
Yes, and you don't need to reinvest again. You don't need to reinvent the wheel with your business, because you
Yeah.
have the infrastructure, you have everything there.
That's it.
That just expands out. But the thought process is how can we benefit. It's
Yeah,
not what
great.
I can get out of it. It's how can we benefit. And I think
Yeah,
at the time, optic fiber cable is like, yeah, there is a need. It's a totally different market, but we can do
yeah,
that with minimal reconfiguration. We have
yeah,
the infrastructure, so we can do that cheaply. We can do the quality there, and people can benefit.
yeah.
Let's give it a shot,
There you
and it
go.
just grows from there. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
that's the way it is.
Fantastic. I love it. So tell me about. Let's drill this down to an example that perhaps some of our listeners will relate to a little bit more. You've got a case study on your website about Bark Busters, a organization that you worked with, and you
Bark
helped them to.
control.
Bark Control, sorry, Bark Control,
Yeah.
and you helped them grow their revenue by 700%.
Yes.
Talk to me about some of the steps. You know, perhaps when you first met them, what were some of the challenges that they were facing? What are some of the suggestions that you made to help them work through that? And then how did that impact their business over time?
Okay, I can't say too much because a lot of it is confidential to some extent
Okay,
because
sure, sure.
it is a story of every business. But I
No,
can
appreciate
attribute
that.
it to the the main reason why Bar Control or
Yeah,
Neil Smith grew the way he grew is because of him.
yeah,
It is the business owner that I would give credit, almost full credit to growing that business.
great.
He is a person who knows what he wants. When he sees the opportunity, he goes for that,
Yeah,
and he values team.
yeah,
So he surrounds himself with not only myself, but with other people who can give him the right recommendations, and he takes it on board and he goes for that. So not
great.
many people have that ability to surround themselves um, in that light, be
Yeah,
willing to listen objectively and move ahead.
yeah,
And he had that quality, and he actually works. He actually pushes ahead. He
yeah,
doesn't have any doubt. He just goes for it. And as a result, his business has grown by leaps and bounds. So
great.
the credit I give is due to him. I was there to reflect, to challenge him at times, to
Yeah,
guide him at times. And from there, he would take that on board, and from there, he'll move along the way. And I was
great.
with him for most of that journey. And that's the growth is there because of, I guess, his ability to get things done.
Yeah, that's awesome. As it's like John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls with leadership. And
Mhm.
really, if you've got somebody that's leading the way with decisiveness and confidence, then these other things will follow in turn.
With that bar control example, I think he was one of the good examples of people who realized that he could be better by
Yeah,
surrounding himself with the right people.
great.
And
I
as a
love that.
result, he was more effective.
Yeah,
He will make a lot less mistakes, and I guess that helps in self confidence as well. No, people don't want to make mistakes.
yeah,
Um, and it's right. He just plowed ahead and worked, and as a result, he got the best. He got the best results out of it
yeah.
because
And
he
and
knew the
that's
fundamentals on that.
that's a recurring theme that I hear on this podcast a lot as well, as having a good team around you. What would you say
Mm.
the anatomy of a good team is? Like when we're talking leadership wise, obviously we have teams in terms of people who do work for us or with us, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, when we're talking about growing a business or coming out of a downturn, who are the kind of people you need on your team to actually get the job done well?
Well, if you're talking about business, you need people who are experienced in business in general to
Yeah,
be in your team. All
yeah,
right. Not a teenager.
yeah,
No, not people with life experience, but a person with adequate business experience,
yeah,
someone who is able to identify, who knows you well enough, who's
yeah,
able to identify whether you are telling a fib or
yeah,
not, or you're
yeah,
trying to get away with it or not, and be able to lead you out of that.
yeah.
It's no point having a team around you who criticizes you harshly and makes you feel terrible.
No.
That's not the purpose of your team. Your team is there to guide you, to assist you to achieve what you want to achieve.
Hmm.
Good people with the right work experience or right background experience who is able to assist you to bring you from point A to point B are not for free. If
No.
you want a good team around you, be prepared to invest in them because it brings you places.
Great.
Likewise, in Bar Control, he was willing to invest in his team,
Yeah.
and he grew so rapidly. He was nominated for the Telstra Business Awards, and it's
Yeah. Wow.
great compliment to him. where he was the first runner-up or second runner-up in that year.
Mm.
Yeah, so he knew what he needed to be the best that he can be. And if you are listening to this podcast and you want to be better, identify what you need to be better.
Yeah.
Go out and invest in it, because
Great.
that's the best way you can get good people around you.
Yeah. So you need to improve on your leadership skills. You get a leadership coach. If you want to improve on strategy, go and get a strategic consultant. If you want to improve your marketing, go and get a marketing guru. Is that what
Yes,
you're
possibly.
explaining? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Many times, like yourself, Tarun, you are a strategic. You are a strategic coach as well. As a few of them rolled into one. Management and
Sure.
strategy as well. So there are a lot of it is embodied in one person, but
Yeah.
then they require specialist skills like legal, like accounting, like a lot of other things that
Yeah.
require real specialist skills.
Yeah.
That's where you have your team around. So yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so how do we pick? Because sometimes we don't know what we need until we've had a conversation with somebody and they help us identify where our areas of growth need to be.
Mhm.
So if we're picking a coach, you wrote a white paper called how to pick a coach or consultant, and there's 7 keys that you recommend for people to
Yes.
look out for. What are the areas that you recommend people look out for when they are seeking a coach or a consultant to help them go from good to great?
Well, fundamentally, you need to know the difference between a coach and a consultant. A
Okay.
coach is someone who brings the information out of you, who
Yeah.
utilizes and depends on your expertise. So a coach can be someone who has no idea what you do or has
Yeah.
no industry knowledge of what your business is, but is
Right.
able to ask you questions that pull out information.
Yeah.
A consultant is someone who knows about marketing, who knows about strategic management, who knows about your industry, and can tell you if you want to go from point A to point B, you need to have your marketing plan and you need to have this. He tells you what you need to do.
Yeah.
So you need to understand whether you need a coach or you need a consultant or do you
Okay.
need both. And
Right.
many business owners need both, but
Right.
they don't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
They always bring in a consultant, and when the consultant tells them what to do and presents them a report on that, and the consultant leaves, they then show me that very good looking report that's on their table.
Mm.
But they don't really implement it, or they implement portions of it
Mm.
because the consultant has given them information for them to do it and just left them as that.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I work with the business owner. I identify their strengths, their weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
and where they want to go. And from there, I leverage off their strengths
Mm-hmm.
to see how we can achieve a pathway to his or her stated goal. And then
Right.
from there, I bring them along the
Gotcha.
journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do it for them. They do it themselves, but I am
Sure.
there and they are held accountable to every step. So that's how I work with them. So if you are looking for, let's say, a coach or consultant, you
Mm.
need to be comfortable in communicating and speaking with that person. If you find that in your conversation and your interview with that
Mm.
coach or consultant, you are comfortable with that
Yeah.
person has a relevant or has good business experience that can assist you, and you feel that he's sharing with you insights into your business, into your own way of doing things in the very first interview, chances are that person is a potentially good match for you.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. So know the difference between a consultant and a coach, and
Yes.
if you what if you don't know who you need? I mean, okay, you've articulated beautifully the difference between the two,
Mhm.
but what comes first, the consultant or the coach, the chicken or the egg?
Both of them are not asked one after another. You need a chicken for the egg. It's different. A coach can be a consultant can be a coach. It's just
Yeah,
that
that's right.
everybody will profess. This is a very unregulated industry.
Yeah,
So
it
there are a lot
is.
of people out there who may not be as qualified or capable as they say that they are.
Sure.
So buyer beware. Buyer
Yeah.
beware on that.
Okay.
I've had people who have gone to other coaches and who have met up with me and said, look, the reason why I'm working with you, Raymond, is because my previous coach was like a chair. I was talking to a chair.
Right.
And that was the exact phrase that she used, and I was shocked. And
Yeah.
that's why it's burned in my memory for a long time, because I've never heard someone use that phrase before. And it dawned upon me that there are a lot of people out there who profess to be consultants and coaches,
Yeah.
but not every one of them are able to do what they profess they're able to do.
Mm.
So you have to interview people. You have to talk to them. And the comfort factor and your gut feel is very important.
Right.
Can that person assist in your business? I mean, you can ask the right questions about your business
Yeah.
and gauge whether that person understands. Does he have a track or she have a track record of working with businesses and turning them around? That's the next phase where you ask.
Great.
And then from there, how do they work? Are they working in the best interest of your business, or are they just there to say, give me 6 months of $10,000 a month, I'll give you A, B, C, D, and I'm off. Does that model actually work for you?
Yeah.
That's something you need to ask those questions yourself.
Yeah, right. And there's a lot of people out there. I find that there's a lot of people that call themselves, say, social media consultants, and they charge you $2,000 a month, and then you asking where the results are, and they say, oh well, I've set it up, now it's you have to go and make it work, and
Yes.
and so you spend all this money, but you're really looking for results at the end of it. The
Yes.
conundrum I guess I have is, I mean, I'm a coach as well, is one of the things we know as coaches is that results are really dependent on the person we're coaching. And
Right.
so it's this push-pull thing. You can't guarantee them results because you don't know how they're going to respond. But at the same time, as the end user, they want to see that they're getting something for their money. So how do you walk that line as a business owner, understanding that, okay, I need a coach. I know that this coach is not going to be solely responsible for getting me results, but I still need to make sure I find somebody that's smart enough to move me along. Does that make sense? Am I articulating myself properly?
Yes, you are. It's more. Can I put it very very bluntly? It's also a business risk on our parts as coaches and consultants.
Mhm.
If we do not deliver, which is, it may be our fault or it may not be our fault. If we do not deliver, what do we do? Because it's from a delivery perspective, the customer will always say it's your fault. The customer is always right in that perspective.
Of
It's
course.
never their fault. And I understand that viewpoint.
Yeah.
So what I've done to assure potential customers coming in is that I give them a guarantee. I want to put it out there that my intention is to help you. I do not need, of course, I would appreciate the benefits of working with you in terms of the income, but I've always put it, the philosophy is that if I become desperate for business, it would be at a compromise to the client,
right,
to the people whom I'm working with. So what I've done is, in my website, I have put a guarantee that puts my foot out for exposure. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
That if I am not able to assist you, and I'm not able to bring in a measured value of the amount you invest in my services after a given time, I will give you all your money back.
Right.
That promise on my website has to be stipulated by common sense terms and conditions, of course. You just can't say, hire me, fold my arms, and let the magic wand of increased business come in. It does not work. But we have to work together. Now, the reason why I put the guarantee there is because that it forces me to look at every business who I am going to potentially work with, and identify whether I can really help you.
Yeah, gotcha.
If I can help you, I think then I'll work with you.
Okay.
If I'm not able to help you and you can afford my services and you want a coach, I will not work with you. I have encountered businesses as such that they have the budget, they're willing to hire a coach, but they are so well organized, they have their systems, they have their process and everything, and all they needed to do is an encouraging pat on the back to say, you're doing well, you are actually doing well, you have your own accountability in place, you don't need a coach. So if you take me on board, it's not going to be as beneficial as you would like it to be, because you are on the right direction. And with that, he was very pleasantly surprised that I gave him the straight up answer. And from there, he moved on, because some businesses are really doing well.
Yeah.
So that's how people who are looking for a coach would always ask the assurance. And I put my guarantee out there on my website to assure them and to keep me in check as well, if you know what I mean.
No, that's fantastic. So have you had anybody actually take you up on that offer? Have you ever had to? No,
never. But they do sign on very common sense terms and conditions to say, if you say you're going to do 1, 2, 3, you should do 1, 2, 3. If you do 1, 2 and claim on a guarantee, I'll say, what about 3? We talked about that. If you don't do it, you can't say I want the results. If I'm only going to do two-thirds of the effort. That
Yeah,
doesn't work. And
that's right.
it's common sense. It's common sense, but no one has pulled on the guarantee for me because they
Yeah.
know because of what I do.
Yeah. Does that translate for the business owner as well? I mean, I use guarantees. I sell online courses and I use guarantees like that all the time. If
Hmm.
you can do my course, and if you find that it's not working for you, or you don't find that it's beneficial to your needs, you can ask for your money back. And I find that by and large, people don't ask for their money back, but it does give them a sense of peace of mind when they're entering into a transaction with you, that that initial trepidation that you go through when you're making a purchase that's sizable, or signing a contract, knowing that you've got that recourse gives you that peace of mind. That's an avenue that most businesses could take as well, to help them garner more customers, or to build credibility with their customers. If they're willing to walk back that deal without asking questions, is that a good strategy, or is that dangerous?
Peace of mind is one of the things that you hit the nail on the head. Peace of mind is one of the things that every business should provide their clients in the
Yeah,
purchase cycle of that.
yeah,
The problem that I've encountered is that it becomes lip service.
yeah.
Like, how many of us have actually encountered that when we want to get back a refund, they make it so hard for us to get a
Mm,
refund back
mm,
when we bought something. So it's easy to pay the lip service.
yeah,
Say guarantee here, refund there. The proof will be in the pudding when someone actually wants that. And
yeah.
that then hits you as a business owner to say, have I budgeted for that? Have
Right.
I actually anticipated something like that?
Yeah.
And that is the hidden part. You refund it, that's fine, that's great.
Mm,
If not, then it says a lot about you as
sure.
the way you operate the business. Yeah.
Sure.
So yes, peace of mind is important. Just don't lie about it.
Yeah.
Don't have the
Okay.
wrong intentions. Have every intention to honor every condition that you have, and
Yeah.
I think that will translate to better business in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've encountered that too. I've bought products and tried to return them, and then encountered a whole bunch of excuses as to why I can't return the product. And and that can work in almost opposite effect, where it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and
Yep.
does I don't want to go back to that business. Whereas I remember the first time I went into an Apple store way back when there was an iPhone 3, and I had a problem with the screen, and the problem
Hmm.
was actually my fault. I tried to
Hmm.
fix something that I shouldn't have been trying to fix.
That's
And I
all of us
took
are guilty sometimes, right?
Yeah, and I took it in, and it was still under warranty, and they did all their tests, and they knew that I had tampered with it, but they said, "You know what? It's under warranty. We're going to replace it for you." And that
Oh, okay.
experience made me an absolute diehard Apple fan. Now, I don't love their products unequivocally. I still have frustrations, but because of my experience with their customer service, I keep going back, because I've never once had that experience with any kind of other technology company, where they
Hmm.
will honor their replacement warranties, even when it seems like the customer's at fault. They'll just do it because they see the long term goal. And if I had to add up the amount of money I've spent with Apple over the last 10 years, I'd say they've well and truly got their money back on me. But it really struck me as a really interesting way of doing business, because that's not normally what you encounter. You normally encounter people who are trying to find ways to get out of that kind of transaction, rather than
Yeah,
seeing the long-term goal of keeping a loyal customer and a raving
that's right.
fan.
No, that's right. Yes. And many people can say that Apple has the deep pockets to do that. But
Sure.
you must understand it is ultimately the core values that Apple has that reflect that. And people
Right.
would expect that. That's why they become loyal because of the values. In
Yeah.
any business, in small to medium business or micro businesses, the core values is the business owner. It is
Good.
the business owner's perspective of what has to be done that
Yeah.
core values reflect and radiate throughout the company. So if you
Great.
are dishonest
Yeah.
by heart, your company would struggle with that value.
Yeah.
If you are a
Yeah.
good person by heart, your company would be. And that is why I look at mindsets, I look at mind shifts because I work with them, business owners.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that would impact. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good, and I'm glad you mentioned values, because really, if you don't start at the core, if you don't start at what you believe and how you should execute something, it doesn't translate to your team. No matter how much you tell them, they're going to be looking at you for the ultimate example of what that looks like.
That's right. That's right. So I have a business owner whom I'm working with that comes to me and tells me the struggles that he has. He tends to react emotionally to things, especially when his team brings up certain things on, let's say, human resource level or something like that. And because he is a go-getter, a very driven person, he would react emotionally to say, why must you do this now? Why must you take leave now? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he has learned from the past to bite his lip and bring it to someone who's of cooler mind, who's not involved in the business. And he brings it up to me, and he then is able to process it better.
Great.
And then he would then go back to the team. So I become his stopgap measure in terms of managing his team. And his team is a lot happier now because they realize that he's changed. But yes, he's changed by reflecting it off to me rather than back to the team.
Great.
And that's how his business is growing in a sense, in terms of team morale and everything, because he knows that he has his flaws, and he's using someone else to help him through that.
Great. And that's such wise advice. I teach a course called How to Deal with Difficult People. And the main component of that course is you've got to learn to deal with yourself and your own emotions and your own reactions before you start trying to manage and control your team. And I noticed on your YouTube channel, your most popular video is why employees leave. And I found that interesting. So talk to me a little bit about that, because you did a 3-part series on this, on why employees leave. And clearly it struck a chord, or it resonated with your audience, because that's listed as your most viewed video. Why do employees leave? And I guess we've kind of already answered it in a sense, but just unpack that a little bit more about what are some of the things that we need to do as leaders to ensure that our teams are not walking out on us over things that really we should be in control of.
One of the things that I find that business owners, when they start off, is that they don't aim to become a leader when they start the business. They started the business because they wanted a better life.
Yeah.
Leadership comes with a package which they didn't ask for.
Yeah.
All right, which it has to grow with you. So whether you like it or not, you'll be looked as a leader in the business, whether you like it or not. And I've had business owners whom I realized do not want to be leaders. They just want to work, you know? They want to have the business. They don't want to be leaders. And that's a slight mismatch in that, but it will grow on them. Employees leave a company for many, many reasons. Some of them, or most of them, we can control. Some of them we can't. For example, if an employee wants to wants to work in Sydney because the family in Sydney is there. You do not have a base in Sydney. There's nothing much that you can do if they want to relocate, unless they can work remotely. Those are not in your control. But if the employees leave because of a toxic culture in your business, or because of something that they disagree with you, and they are good people with a logical perspective, and they are right, that you can control.
Right.
So you need to identify why your employees leave. Is it because of the pay, which most of the time they will say it is? Is it because of a mismatch in values? If you believe in cutting corners and believe in doing things properly, for example, or is it because of the political situation in the office, which you, by ignoring it, have actually encouraged it? Because of your lack of leadership. So those are the things that you have to ask yourself, because if you just ignore it and hide under the carpet, as your business grows, that situation will expound much bigger. And the person who will pay the price will be you. I always have this analogy. When you start off your business and you're doing $100,000 to $200,000, for example, any mistake you make will cost you $1,000 to $5,000.
Right.
If you grow a business from $300,000 to $500,000 and you are doing it better, the same mistake that you make in a $500,000 business will cost you something like $20,000,
right,
as opposed to 1 to 5. So if you ignore what you see before you right now, you don't have a team to call it out for you to address it right now. When it goes later on, you'll be paying 2 to 10 times as much. Yeah, I've had a business owner who made a fundamental mistake. He's over $1
Yeah.
million, no, over $2 million, and his mistake cost him something like 80 to 100,000.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, just a fundamental mistake because
Yeah.
he may not have the skill set, or he may have ignored that thing, and it's blown up to that point.
Right.
So it's not cheaper to make mistakes as you grow bigger. It's
No.
proportional.
Yeah, and I guess it's like they say that bigger doesn't necessarily mean less problems. More successful, you've got more problem, yeah, more money, more problems, and
That's right.
the complexity or the nature of your problems becomes infinitely more complex the bigger you get. Um, I've got a good friend, a coach, Bobby Allen, who is a leadership coach, and he says that people don't leave organizations; they leave people. Uh, Fundamentally, relationships are the key to why people leave, and often they'll give other reasons. I myself have
Of
even
course.
done this when I've left places. I've given other reasons like money or looking for other opportunities, but underlying all of those reasons, there's a personal relationship interaction that has soured the experience of your staying there. Would you say that that's a feature that you see in what you do as well?
There will be always that contributing factor, that relationships. But then, I guess from a mindset of people who are listening here, who are wanting to grow the business even bigger, they will ask themselves this question: why bother growing if you're going to have more complex problems
Yeah,
when you grow? Why you
yeah,
don't just keep it small? Why bother bringing in a team where relations is everything? If I have a team of 10 people, does it mean I have to get to know all 10 of them? What happens if I have a team of 20 or 30? I can't
yeah,
manage that. And
yeah.
those are the questions that would come up in as they listen to us. And I'd like to address that if you don't mind.
Please.
Um, the advantage of I always encourage you to address any issue that you have when the business is small and growing, because
Mm,
you will have less issues when you grow bigger.
yeah,
Because when you
yeah.
grow bigger, you have your own set of challenges that come with a growing bigger business.
Great,
That's one thing. The
great.
advantage of having a bigger business and
Mm,
having other problems that come with that
yeah,
is that you have leverage to hire people and bring people into your team who can help you manage that.
yeah,
You don't need to do everything yourself. You have people to help you.
yeah,
So as you grow bigger, the problems are different. They're not
yeah,
fundamentally the same. If you address them, there
yeah,
will be different problems that come in that's inherent to growth. But then you have the leverage, you have team, you have people to help you out. So it gets easier. In fact, it gets more fun because
yeah,
now it's not only you, you have other people contributing to the whole
yeah,
process, which is fun.
yeah.
All right,
Great.
that's one thing. So don't let these problems be impediment for you to stop growing the business, to keep it
Yeah,
there. If you have the potential, grow it. You will benefit so much from
yeah.
the growth. You will grow bigger, and
Mm,
you would create jobs for the economy.
yeah.
Everybody will love you.
Great,
In the
great.
sense, yeah. Um, with regards to people leaving people,
Yeah,
yes, you have I work with a particular business who has about 20 under her, and what she has is team leaders
yeah,
that build that relationship. She builds the relationship. She knows everybody by name,
yeah,
but she doesn't know everybody that intimately in that sense.
yeah.
But she knows the team leaders who will then know the employees, the
Great,
team members, and
great.
that kind of care that she puts in gets translated down to everybody as a result. So that's how she uses that leverage to push her work culture and her care
Great.
culture across to the whole organization.
Yeah, and that's so wise, and that's so necessary. You can't scale unless on one person. You'll
Yeah,
burn out sooner
mm,
or later, for sure.
that's correct.
Raymond, I would love to continue talking. I'm finding this conversation enthralling as always, but I know that we have time constraints, and so I want to respect that. But can you show us a copy of your book and let people know where can they get your book if they'd like to get it? Oh,
If
it just
the
disappeared.
website actually, oh yeah, that's
There it
right.
is.
That's
There
it.
it
It's
is.
2 minutes in 2 years.
Yeah.
You can get a copy of my website, and I'm sure Tarun would put the website up there
Yep.
for you to click on the link to just go. And I
Great.
would love to hear from you
Yeah.
on that. You can get a free preview of the book if you just register your email and your name. And
Good.
I would send the first chapter of the book to you for free.
Yeah, awesome. And we will definitely put the link in, and also to your YouTube page, which is Biz Coach Ray. Uh,
That's right.
so check that out. Raymond has got 2 years worth of content on there, just absolute gold mine for anyone looking to grow in their business, understanding and strategy. Absolutely recommend it, and we'll put all the links in the description. Raymond, thank you so much for spending this last hour with us. I've really appreciated it, as always. And
Likewise, I enjoyed myself, Tarun. Thank you very much for having me here.
very welcome. Great to have you, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you got a ton of value out of that episode. Don't forget to let us know what you thought in the comments, and if you have a topic you'd like us to cover next time, we'd love to hear from you. If you know anyone that would benefit from the content that we produce, please like and share this channel, and we look forward to having you next time on the Tarun Stevenson Leadership Channel.